So I'm shadowbanned. I've also stopped talking about drugs and alcohol, and not that alcohol is not a drug, but those topics, the topics of addiction, more than half a year ago. And when you've built an audience around a certain topic and then you switch niches and you switch topics, usually the views drop, and that's totally fine, right? Because the algo has no idea who to show your content to. But since I'm also thinking about different topics all the time, and I don't want to talk just about one certain subject all the time, I do talk about stuff that the system does not like, and I do comment on different profiles where I think a comment is necessary about certain topics that aren't liked by the system, and so I'm shadowbanned, and that's totally fine, I guess. I just want you to know that you probably don't see my content anymore, and it's not shown to you even though you follow me. So you can switch on the notifications to receive a notification if I post, if my stuff interests you. If not, that's also fine. And just know I will never let some platform tell me what to talk about and what not to talk about. In the past, I would leave out certain topics and I would phrase certain things in a smart way. I still do that. I don't have to talk about the arm darts with the word that's more clear, because that will clearly not help the account either. And regardless, if I want to talk about chemtrails, I will talk about chemtrails, especially with the work in my academy. It's so important because people have to know that there's aluminum coming down from up there, and it goes straight into your body. And if you don't know that, then you don't understand why it's so important to detox aluminum. Just one angle, so I have to talk about it to make it clear to you why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I understand all these factors, right? The soil, the air, the water, it's just all connected. And if you want a holistic approach to your health, you have to actually know what goes on around you to be able to mitigate the exposure to these things. And then when you, let's say, see that there's been a lot of chemtrails being sprayed a certain day, you know that it's time to go to the sauna within the next 24 hours. These things have to be told, and they have to be said, so you get what I'm working on, why I think it's so important, why I've put so much time and effort into this work, and I deem it the foundational work for everyone, every single human, which is why I've moved away from the addiction work, apart from a few one-on-one cases here and there, and fully focused on that foundational work because I can help more people with this. Because literally everyone is exposed to these toxins and compounds on a daily basis. It doesn't matter if you eat fish and you're ingesting mercury via that food, or if you just go for a walk outside and they've been spraying the skies and you're inhaling bromium, strontium, aluminum, and a couple other things that I really cannot say, but just know that it's of utmost importance that you start cleansing and detoxing. Just look around you. You have all these elderly people right now with mental health issues, brain issues. A lot of Alzheimer's is popping up, a lot of dementia on every corner. Why is that? Sugar intake, diabetes 3 it's called, right? In the academy you have to change your nutrition and your lifestyle, for example. Part of changing that is to eliminate the 4 white devils. It's white sugar, white flour, white anything processed, white table salt, and all dairy, all pasteurized dairy. So unless you do that, you will never be able to actually get rid of the fungal and the parasite infection properly, right? Will always come back because that's what they feed on. And if you really think hard, if you have, let's say, a grandmother in your family that has Alzheimer's or dementia, think what she was eating, most of her life. She was probably ingesting a lot of refined sugars, and it's just the way it is. Your brain health is important, and your brain needs the right nutrients, and if you don't detox properly, you will run into problems later on. It's just the way it is. Why do you think there's so much ADHD and autism going on? I know the narrative is a different one, but it has a lot to do also with this shit, from birth, with aluminum that's in the carrier fluids, for example, and a lot to do with EMFs and radiation, and when you were in the belly, and what your mom was exposed to, and what she was carrying with her before your birth, and when she was living, before you, and when she was experiencing, all these forced vaccinations and shit, right? So the narrative out there about a lot of these problems that we have is a lot different than what you would think, right? So I think, in my opinion, the most basic thing you can do is just clean this vessel constantly. And in the beginning, you will have to do it more thoroughly and with a better protocol that's a little bit more depth. And then after, you can just keep maintaining. But you will have to keep maintaining, because the body is not able to excrete and get rid of all these toxins and compounds anymore, because the volume is just too high. It's just too much for it. It just cannot keep up. Understand that. And so this is not to bring fear, this is just to give you the facts, right? It's not like there isn't a solution out there. So just get fucking going and start working on your health. You don't have to do it with me. It's work with whoever. If you think there's someone else that does it better than me, be my guest, right? But get going and start thinking about your health. And if you don't want to do anything crazy for now, just start with the sauna. Start with eliminating the stuff that I talked about before, the processed foods, and start moving and start sweating and try to eat high quality foods. That's a good start altogether. You won't get rid of all that stuff that's been stored in the fat and the tissue and the organs, for example, but it's a good start. All right, have a good day.